America defeated Saddam Hussein's Iraq within weeks. The Taliban government in Afghanistan collapsed soon after the US intervention in 2001. NATO's air campaign helped bring down Muammar Gaddafi's regime in Libya. So here is the puzzle. If the United States possesses the world's most powerful military, why does Iran remain one of the most difficult countries to defeat? Is Iran secretly stronger than America? Does it possess some magical weapon? Of course not. The United States can destroy Iranian military infrastructure and can inflict enormous damage. But there is a crucial distinction, a crucial difference. Destroying a country's military is not the same as achieving your political objectives. The very famous military strategist Karl von Clausewitz famously described war as the continuation of politics by other means. In simple words, winning battles does not automatically mean winning the war. And that is where Iran becomes different. Welcome to Bharat and Beyond. Hello everyone, I am Aditya Vashist and welcome back to Bharat and Beyond. The United States has an enormous military advantage over Iran. Aircraft carriers, stealth aircraft, long-range missiles, advanced intelligence and surveillance capabilities, and a defense budget unmatched by any other country in this world. So, militarily, there is little doubt that America could inflict devastating damage on Iran. But the real question is, could it achieve its political objectives at an acceptable cost? And the first answer lies in something much older than missiles or nuclear technology. Geography. Open a map of West Asia. Iran is enormous, more than 1.6 million square kilometers. Much of its western territory is protected by the Zagros Mountains. The north is dominated by the Elbrus Range, while the center contains vast deserts such as Dasht-e-Kavir and Dasht-e-Lut. In other words, nature has given Iran a formidable defense advantage. Imagine moving thousands of soldiers, tanks, fuel trucks, ammunitions, and supplies through the mountains, the deserts, and the narrow valleys while facing the resistance. Bombing a country is one thing, occupying it is something entirely different. History has repeatedly demonstrated this. The Soviet Union struggled to control Afghanistan. The United States spent nearly 2 decades there. Geography doesn't automatically win wars, but it can make them painfully expensive. And then comes another important distinction. Iran is not Iraq. Iran has a population of more than 90 million, enormous territorial depth, and a complex security structure consisting of both the regular armed forces and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or commonly referred to as IRGC. The IRGC plays a central role in Iran's missile, naval, cyber, and strategic capabilities. Iran has also invested in underground facilities, the nuclear facilities, dispersed military infrastructure, and domestic defense production. It understands something very clearly. It cannot become militarily stronger than US. So it doesn't try to fight America on America's terms. Instead, it tries to make victory extremely costly. And that brings us to Iran's real weapon, its strategy. Imagine a heavyweight boxer facing someone much smaller. The smaller fighter has 2 choices. Try to fight the heavyweight at his own game or change the rules of the game. Iran chose the second option. Military strategists call this as the asymmetric warfare. Simply put, instead of matching a stronger opponent weapon for weapon, you use different methods to exploit his vulnerabilities. Iran knows it cannot compete with America in terms of the aircraft carriers, in terms of the stealth technology, the fighter planes, the global logistics, or the air power. So it has invested in missiles, drones, fast attack boats, cyber capabilities, underground facilities, and regional partnerships. The objective isn't necessarily to defeat America conventionally. It is to make victory so expensive and uncertain that the opponent begins asking, is this war actually worth it? That is the logic of deterrence through cost imposition, a concept frequently associated with the assessments of Iran's military strategy. One of Iran's most important capabilities is its missile arsenal. Institutions such as the International Institute for Strategic Studies and CSIS have assessed Iran as possessing one of the largest ballistic missile arsenals in whole of West Asia. Why do missiles matter? Because they reduce dependence on air superiority. Even if an adversary controls the sky, mobile missile systems can be dispersed, concealed, and used against military bases and strategic infrastructure. Iran has also invested heavily in drones, and the Russia-Ukraine war has demonstrated something important about modern warfare. Relatively inexpensive drones can force an opponent to use extremely expensive air defense systems, which US has been using. Modern warfare isn't simply about who has the most sophisticated or most costly weapons. Sometimes it's about who can impose the greatest cost on the opponent. Now look at the map again. Between Iran and Oman lies the Strait of Hormuz. At its narrowest, it is only 33 kilometers wide. But according to the IEA and the US EIA, roughly 1/5, that is almost 20% of the global oil consumption, passes through this particular strategic choke point. Think about what it means. A narrow waterway connected to Iran affects energy markets across the world. Any serious disruption could push the oil prices, shipping costs, and the insurance premiums, creating inflationary pressure beyond West Asia. And this is where Iran's geography becomes a global strategic asset. It doesn't need to control the global economy. It only needs the ability to threaten disruption. Then comes another layer. Iran has spent decades developing relationships with armed groups and political actors across West Asia. These include Hezbollah in Lebanon and Houthis in Yemen, Hamas in Gaza, and armed groups in Iraq and Syria. These organizations are not identical, and each has its own local interests, but together they provide Iran with influence across multiple theaters. This means a conflict with Iran may not remain inside Iran. Military bases, shipping lanes, energy infrastructure, regional allies, all could become part of the wider confrontation. Strategists referred this as horizontal escalation, a conflict spreading across multiple theaters rather than remaining confined to one particular battlefield. So now we have three pieces of the puzzle: geography, asymmetric capabilities, and the ability to spread the costs of conflict across the region. But there is an even bigger question. What happens after the bombs stop falling? Because defeating an army can be easier than deciding what comes next. And that is where America's biggest problem begins. By now, we understand something important. Iran's greatest strength isn't that it has a bigger army than America. It doesn't. Its economy isn't stronger. Its technology isn't more advanced. So what makes Iran so difficult? One simple distinction. Winning battle is not the same as winning a war. And winning a war is not necessarily the same as achieving your political objectives. Consider regime change. Removing a leader can be relatively easy. Replacing an entire political system is much harder. Iran has a complex network of institutions: the supreme leader, the president, parliament, guardian council, assembly of experts, IRGC, and a wider administrative system. Whatever one's opinion of Iran's political system, its institutions have demonstrated considerable resilience through decades of sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and conflict. This is why Clausewitz remain relevant. The political objective is the goal. War is only the means. And history offers some uncomfortable lessons. In Vietnam, the United States won numerous tactical engagements but failed to achieve its broader political objectives. In Afghanistan, the Taliban government collapsed rapidly in 2001. Yet, after nearly 2 decades of war, the Taliban returned to power in 2021. In Iraq, Saddam Hussein's government fell rapidly. But what followed? Insurgency, sectarian violence, political instability, and enormous human and financial costs. The lesson is simple. The hardest phase of war can begin after military victory. You win the war, and then someone asks, now what? There is another problem: the cost of war. War isn't fought only with weapons. It is fought with budgets, fuels, markets, and political patience. The cost of war project at Brown University estimates that America's post 9/11 wars have cost United States trillions of dollars. For democratic governments, prolonged wars create another battlefield, their own domestic politics. As casualties rise, as costs rise, as objectives become less clear, public support becomes harder to maintain. Iran understands this. Its strategy doesn't necessarily require a quick victory. It can seek to outlast the opponent's political patience. And then there is India. Why should India care about a conflict thousands of kilometers away? Because West Asia is directly connected to India's energy security, diaspora, strategic interests. India imports significant share of its crude oil from the region. A prolonged crisis can affect the oil prices, shipping costs, and inflation. Millions of Indians live and work in the Gulf countries, making their safety another major concern. At the same time, India maintains relationships with countries on different sides of the geopolitical divide. The United States is one of India's most important strategic partners, but Iran remains important for India's connectivity ambitions, particularly through the Chabahar port, which provides India access towards Afghanistan and Central Asian countries while bypassing Pakistan. For India, therefore, stability in West Asia isn't merely a diplomatic preference, it is a strategic necessity. But now we have to confront the most important question of this entire episode. Let's be precise. Can America destroy Iranian military infrastructure? The answer is yes. Can it conduct devastating airstrikes? Absolutely. Can it impose severe economic pressure? It already has. So why call this episode Why America Can't Defeat Iran? Because the word defeat needs to be understood differently. Military victory is one thing. Political victory is another. Iran does not need to become stronger than America. It only needs to make the cost of achieving America's objectives sufficiently high. This is deterrence through the cost imposition. Geography makes invasion difficult. Missiles and drones make military infrastructure vulnerable. Regional networks create the possibility of a wider escalation. The Strait of Hormuz creates global economic risks. And the experiences of Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan raise the most uncomfortable question of all. What happens after victory? This is why the United States may be able to win a conventional military confrontation with Iran while still struggling to achieve the political outcome it wants. And that distinction is a real lesson. Because modern wars aren't decided only by tanks, fighter jets, or aircraft carriers. They are shaped by geography, political will, economic resilience, public support, technology, alliances, and above all, the strategy. Sun Tzu wrote more than 2000 years ago, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Perhaps that idea is even more relevant today, because the greatest victories in geopolitics are not always achieved by conquering territory. Sometimes they're achieved by shaping the choices of your opponent. So, the real question was never, can America bomb Iran? Of course it can. The real question is, can America achieve its political objectives at an acceptable cost? And that is a much harder battle. Because starting a war is a decision. Ending one on your own terms is a strategy. And perhaps that is a real lesson. Iran remains one of the toughest geopolitical challenges for the United States. Thank you for watching. I'm Aditya Vashist. This is Bharat and Beyond. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and remember, behind every headline lies a much bigger story. Jai Hind. Thank you.